Now we move on to step 6, the closing process. What's the right time to close a sale? The right time is when all the questions have been answered and when all the objections have been discussed and resolved. In other words, the right time to close is when the prospect is ready, when they come out with the yes, let's do it. When negotiation begins, the close is in sight. Just the minor details are left to work out. And then within this process of closing, before everything is signed, there may be the process of negotiation. It is the first topic of conversation in the closing section. As far as negotiation goes, most of the points are going to be agreed upon and that both sides think it's a good thing to do. There may just be a couple of things of contention that need to be dealt with. But there is intention on both sides to move forward. To be effective, you need to negotiate so that both sides win. In other words, you win the order and your customer wins the best advertising schedule. So you're both getting what you want. Don't try to make it so that you or the prospect, either or, winds up coming significantly behind in terms of the benefits of the sale. You want both sides to be able to benefit. Amy and Robert Bly say that the person who controls the negotiation is usually the one who has set the guidelines. So this is a case where you want to have as much control as you possibly can in the negotiating process. In terms of sales negotiation, many times you will be meeting at the client's place of business or at some other place that the client has determined that you will meet. You try to negotiate, picking out the day and time, for example, or other aspects of how you will get together and how you will negotiate, how you will set the terms of talking about different things. The more that you are able to control those sorts of issues, the better it will be for you to have control of the situation in general. Key elements to success are being prepared and being able to choose the time and place. Just talked about that. Plan your negotiating strategy in advance. In your planning, you need to know what concessions you're willing to make and what you will give up in order to move the process forward. Again, some of this may be dictated by the station that you work for. In other cases, you may have a little more license to be able to offer certain things or not offer certain things. Have that in your mind in terms of what you would really like to have and what's the minimum that you would like to have, and have a strategy in place for not getting to the minimum too quickly. Because if you surrender something too early, you look too easy and it makes the other side greedy for more, and you could wind up losing in the negotiation process. If you can't close, you can't sell. So, some essentials: rehearsal, repetition, and study. They're essential, but only if they make the close a natural part of your sales process. So you want to rehearse what it is that you're going to do, what you're going to say, and practice doing those sorts of things and kind of study the situation that you're in. But if it looks like you've done those things, it's also not going to be effective for you. They have to come across as if it's second nature to you. However, if you are able to do that, it will help to prevent you having to think about things when the time comes, that you're very quick and you're very ready to have an answer for any situation that comes up. That helps in the confidence aspect that you present when you're dealing with a client. We should define what closing is, and a lot of people have different aspects and ideas on what all is involved in closing. Chris Lytle says you do the counseling for free, you do the commercial for free, you write the proposal for free. All of that may take hours, and you may or may not get paid for it. But when the client says yes, you collect commissions for the schedule's duration. So the payoff is when the close happens. That's when you're rewarded for all of your hard work. Zig Ziglar insists that the close is no more or no less important than any other phase of the sales process. He makes his point by reminding us that if there's no prospect, there's no chance for the close. If there's no presentation, there's no close. So every aspect of the sales process is important. We focus on the close because that's when the transaction itself actually takes place. But you have to have all the other elements there as well in order for the entirety of the sale to be successful and effective. Mike McCaffrey says that closing is the point in the sale in which you and the buyer want something agreeable to each of you. Again, it's a situation where both sides win. Rules for getting to the close. First, assume that you will close. Go into your presentation expecting to make the sale. The seller approaches the situation with confidence. Expecting to close makes you ready to close. So have that sort of mindset as you walk in that you are going to get the sale. That adds to your confidence. It adds to your determination. It adds to your resolve. So go in with that mindset. Summarize needs and wants. All the problems, concerns, and situations you uncovered that led you along the path to a sale should be recapped. So kind of just do a final run through of making sure that all the boxes are checked. Summarize solutions. The summary is confirmation that you've matched the solution to need. So what you're offering would be acceptable to the client. Help prospects fantasize. Encourage the prospect to visualize their commercial message on the air. Have them think about when customers come in and they say, hey, I heard your ad on the radio, or I saw your ad on TV. There's a bit of vanity that comes along with that, and it's something that can be thought about in a romantic sort of way by advertisers. Close early. The sooner you get to actually closing, getting signatures, the better off it is for you. Ask for the order. Communicate to your prospects that you want their business. You're not going to get them to close unless you ask specifically, saying, so are we good to go? When can we get this started? Be very forthcoming in saying that you want to make this happen, and flat out ask for it. Once you do, though, shut up. Ask a question that prompts a close. Give the prospect a chance to answer your question and commit to buy. Sometimes silence can be awkward, but that silence also gives the customer the opportunity to process and to be able to respond. Charles Roth offers the master closing formula. This is something that's kind of old but still has some purpose for us today. Make every call a selling call. Every time that you call on a prospect, offer them something. Try early in every sale for a close. Again, present yourself as one that is ready to make a deal. Third, close on every resistance. Every time that you hear an objection and you counter that objection and get a point of agreement, make that an opportunity to say, let's go ahead and get this taken care of. And fourthly, keep trying time after time. Be consistent and showing that you want to help the client. Showing a sense of purpose in your initial call and in your needs analysis interview sets the tone. By approaching every call as a sales call, you offer something that you can close on later. So on one hand, yes, we are trying to meet clients' needs. They also understand that we are in the sales business, and the more that we offer on an opportunity for them to say yes to, the more chances that we get that they will indeed actually say yes. Some closing techniques. Now, these are not techniques that you follow as a process or that you do every time that you close a deal. There's different tactics for different needs. You're going to want to pick the techniques that fit your personality or fit the techniques to particular clients based on their style and pace. So keep these in mind and use them as appropriate and necessary. First, the direct close. This is basically asking for the order. So are we ready to sign? The direct close. The deadline close tells your prospect that they should buy now before the deadline arrives. Maybe this is to help them be able to get in on a special incentive sale that the media outlet that you're working for is promoting, or a special event buy for, maybe like a Christmas event or something like that. Or it could just be a special sales deal that your station is doing. Here's the thing of that, though. If you are offering something by a certain deadline, you have to stick to that deadline. You can't extend the deadline just because they're hemming and hawing and you want to try to get the sale even though they're not ready to sign by the last day. You can't bluff on it or you'll lose trust. The choice close. Offering different packages and different tiers. Which package do you prefer? The Ben Franklin close, also called the balance sheet close or the T account close. The Ben Franklin close involves creating on a sheet of paper 2 columns, a for column and an against column. And without numbering the things that you write on these lists, you want to make a list of items that is for going for a campaign and against going for a campaign, the different objections. And you can list those in different ways. Either do all the fors and all the againsts, or do all the againsts and do all the fors, or go back and forth across the lists. But if you've done your job well enough, there will be more in the for column than there is in the against column. And seeing that on paper can help a client visualize the effectiveness of going ahead with the advertising buy. The higher authority clause, the higher authority close, I should say. Contact a well-known client who has had the same question, the same objections that your current client has. Call that person and ask them to speak on your behalf and give a testimonial direct to your prospect. When you do this, the client needs to have a high enough profile to be able to make the higher authority that person in the eyes of your prospect, that it's someone that's a little more credible than you, if you want to put it that way, but basically someone that is saying the same thing you are that is not you and has actually had direct experience in doing the very thing that you're trying to get your prospect to do. The make me an offer close. If the prospect makes you an offer, there's an intention to buy. The one thing you do want to do, though, because this is negotiating different details and a lot of times cost is involved here, you want to save this technique for late in the negotiation because this usually is going to result in some sort of a concession on your part. The 3 questions close. This is based on 3 questions that were developed by Zig Ziglar for his company, adapted to work for media buys. Can you see how using this schedule, this promotion, this contract would increase your sales? Are you interested in increasing your sales? And if you are ever going to start increasing your sales, when do you think would be the best time to start? So it creates a sense of urgency in the mind of your prospect to say that there's no better time than now to hop on and start with the campaign, because time is money. So, now, after you've gotten the yes for the close, what happens after the sale? You've got to earn new gratitude every day. That requires going beyond the sale to implementation to relationship building. By implementation, this means getting the order processed and the copy into production. So taking care of the client's needs, servicing your client, servicing your account. That service is going to be the first step towards relationship building. Building and managing relationships will put you in line for repeat business. It means that you and your client have reached a level of mutual trust and respect. So fulfilling on the things that you have promised, doing it in a timely manner, doing it in such a way that you are in communication with your client, that they know what is happening, and that you are actively involved in helping them to achieve the success that they have bought from you. Since sales is a matter of solving problems for your clients, service after the sale links you as the seller to the solution. You become the differentiation between your schedule and a campaign on another medium. If you are keeping in communication with your client and you're servicing them and you're answering questions and you're solving problems as the contract plays itself out, you will be seen as a valuable asset in the eyes of your customer, and it will make them more likely to buy from you again. The commercial is service. The deal may be done, but there's no real closure until the commercial is written and produced to the client's satisfaction. The smaller the media outlet, the more likely you are going to be the one that does most of the follow-up work yourself. As the salesperson, you may be the one that puts the contract together, enters the schedule. You may be the one that writes the commercial copy. You may be the one that voices and produces the commercial copy. Depending on what sort of staff that you have at the station that you're working for and the policy and procedures that happen there, you may or may not have a creative person. You may or may not have different voice talent. Some of that may be on you. All of it may be on you. Depends on the place that you're working at. Writing copy. To write a commercial message effectively, you need to know that consumers don't buy soap, they buy skin you love to touch. So we've talked about the idea that our clients aren't buying our product or service. They're not buying advertising. They're buying solutions to their problem. We do the same thing as consumers. We don't buy soap for the sake of buying soap. We buy soap because we want to smell nice, because we want our skin to be soft and clean. So you have to keep that in mind as you're writing commercials for your client and thinking about it from their perspective. You will also need to know the essential commercial criteria for your medium. Think about the way that commercials are put together for television, for radio, for the format that you're working in, and work that message in to fit the medium for the particular audience. David Ogilvy has definitive rules for commercials. His suggestions: first, identify your brand early in the commercial. A lot of advertising agencies say that the name of the product should be mentioned within the first 7 seconds of the ad. Identify it often. Don't air an ad and by the end of the ad people ask, well, what was that product for again? I have no idea. It could be the most creative ad out there, but if you don't remember what the product was for, you've failed as an advertiser. Promise the listener a benefit early in the commercial. Again, customers buy satisfactions. And repeat this process often. Too much emphasis is placed on art, not enough on increasing sales. In other words, agencies want to win awards while their clients only want to sell merchandise. So on one hand, you do want to create advertising that is entertaining, compelling, that makes people want to watch because you're selling that audience to your advertising client. But ultimately, the ad has to promote the advertising client and gets them to a certain call to action, to visit the store, to make a phone call, to go to the website, to do whatever it is that the advertiser wants your viewers to do as a result of watching the commercial. And if you convey that message effectively, no matter, it doesn't really matter how many bells and whistles you do, as long as the commercial actually achieves its goals and winds up paying dividends for your client. However, you're still not finished. You won't get your commission if your client doesn't pay the bill. So, invoicing is very important. Make sure that when your client signs the order or the contract, that you talk about payment terms in a proper professional tone. Most stations have a policy of net 30 days. Know what the policy is for your station and make sure that your client understands those terms. Advertising agencies, it's a little different. They typically take longer to pay than direct accounts because the agency must first bill its client, then collect the money before passing it along to the media outlet. It could be 60 to 120 days before the advertising agency pays for the services it contracted with the station. So that's something to keep in mind. That's pretty standard practice in the industry.